welcome to my channel. My name is Emily and we do sewing things here. So there is this brand that's been floating around on my social media. It's called Lacemade and they make the most whimsical cottagecore 18th century inspired clothing that is for modern day wear. And like everything they make is absolutely beautiful. I'm sure if you're watching this video that you have seen this brand. Their work is absolutely gorgeous. I would love one day to have a real piece of theirs, but a lot of the styles that I like from theirs are these sort of corset style, corset-esque based type dresses. And if you've watched my channel in the past, you know that I am super short. I'm not even 5 foot tall. Even for my height, I am short-waisted. So that means that anything very fitted, I usually can't wear it off the rack. Sometimes even things that are sized to be petite are still too long for me. So I know that even if I were to kind of splurge and spend the money on a lace-made dress, although I'm sure it would be beautiful, I just really doubt that it would fit my body and that I would be happy with it. So to kind of counteract that, I am going to make my own Lacemade-inspired corset dress. It's inspired by a couple different styles of theirs, but chiefly this one and this one. So as you can see, both corset style dresses, I like the sort of floral bodice of the first one, and I like the very draped skirt that kind of stays narrow over the hips and narrow towards the ankles as well. So I am going to be making this dress completely out of fabric and materials that I already have in my stash. So for the corset top, I have actually some fabric that is, it's Rival Paper Company fabric, this beautiful floral fabric, and you may recognize it because I made my two good friends, I made them baby bonnets using this fabric. I did have some left over though, and I have actually already cut it for I was gonna make like a casual cottagecore 18th century stays. So it's already cut out for that, and I think that's going to give me a really good base to work from for this corset style top. I'm going to also be using some cotton coutil. That's the same coutil fabric that I used for my 1910s corset, and that is also cut out in the same stays pattern for that cottagecore style stays that I was planning on making. So I'm going to repurpose both of those. And then I also have this really pretty berry, it's some type of like double knit stretchy fabric that I picked up at the bargain basement at Costume College this year. So it was completely free, and it's just like a square of fabric. I think I'm going to have just enough to make this sort of drapey skirt with. And what else? Yes, okay, so I already have the boning for inside the corset. I already have extra grommets from when I made my 1910s corset. I already have ribbon to lace up the back, and I'm gonna add like little accent ribbons over the top, and I already have some of those that I had bought for another project, which I don't think is gonna happen anymore. So yeah, completely 100% made with materials that I already have. And the other exciting thing about this project is that I am going to be draping the skirt. I've never made anything by draping it before, but I am going to use my custom dress form that I made from the bootstrap pattern. I have a video on that process that I will link below if you want to check that out. But I'm going to be using that dress form to help me drape the skirt. So with that said, let's jump right in. So as I said, this was my first time using draping as a method, and my general approach was just to wrap the fabric around the dress form, making sure that it fit at sort of the widest point of my hips, and then kind of going from there in terms of how I wanted to, drape it across the front and how I wanted to add in darts to make it fit at the waist. And I tried it a couple different ways. I tried it just kind of like straight on grain on the rectangle, and then I thought, well, maybe it would fit better if it was a little bit stretchier on the crosswise grain. So I folded it into like a triangle shape and redid it that way, but I didn't like how that looked. It really wasn't long enough. It was just kind of awkward looking, and I ended up going back to doing it just on straight of grain, and just doing the drapes across the front until I liked how they looked, making sure that I had plenty of room through the hips and the back, and then going back in and adding in darts to the waist to make it sort of fit over the curve. Once I was happy with how the front was draped, I went ahead and took some thread and sewed them all together so that I could take it off my dress form to do an initial try on. At the same time, I also went to sew the darts in the back, but decided that that was a little bit too cumbersome, and so I just switched the pins to marking off the darts instead of having them go straight into the dress form. Once I was happy with the fit, I went ahead and took it to my sewing machine and I sewed in the darts, and then I sewed a waistband on, and I just used a piece of gross grain ribbon that I already had on hand here, sewing it to the right side of the waist so that I could then flip it around to the inside of the waist. The next thing I had to tackle was the bodice. So I had my stays pattern, and so I simply sewed all those pieces together on the sides as I normally would, but I wanted it to kind of form over the curves of my body more than a pair of stays does. So I added in some bust darts to that front piece, but then that made it align weird with the piece next to it. So I pinned it up to the dress form and kind of cut out new armholes, and also cut off the pieces along the waist where the tabs for the stays would go. I then added in a few bones, not as many as I would with stays, but just enough to give it some structure. I ended up later kind of regretting this and wishing that I would have added in a few more bones to keep it upright, but that's, I guess, a lesson for next time. I played around with my ribbon trim to decide how I wanted the trim to be. I couldn't decide whether I liked it with or without that crossbar, and I asked you all this question in an Instagram poll, and most people liked it without the crossbar, and I ultimately decided that I liked that best too. Okay, so I will show you all what I have done on the corset bodice so far. I'm really excited, and as usual, I got a little bit carried away, and I probably should have shown you guys the progress a little bit sooner, but here it is. Okay, so here it is so far. It is stitched together on the top edges, and we have the ribbon decoration put on as well. Then give me just a second. So this is what I meant when I said I should have shown you guys the progress sooner, because I wanted to show you this completely flipped open so you can see that across the top I've just stitched it right sides together and then clipped into the curves. Underneath all there are the bodice or bones, which are sewn in. This is that kind of bone that I have no idea what it's called, but it's like a come on, focus. There we go. It's like this kind of soft fuzzy, and it's like bonded with the bone in the center, and so you can sew right through it. It is a dream to work with. The corset is now almost done. I have finished the edge on the bottom just by whip stitching together. And now I just need to add the grommets. So I'm thinking like 5 or 6 grommets down each side so that I can lace it together. I used my grommet setting tool, and I do have an instructional video on how this whole process works on my channel, so go check that out if you are interested. But the great thing about it this time is that now I don't have anybody living below me, so I could pound away at it all wee hours of the night and not have to worry about disturbing anyone. So I must have lost weight since I made this mannequin, because I've already added the clasp and it fits my waist, but we have some extra. And that makes sense because that's about the amount of extra that I ended up having to like take in with an extra tuck here after I had patterned it. So that tracks. But now the reason that I have it on the mannequin is because I need to hem this. So I tried it on and I had my fiance put some pins like right where it meets the floor when I wear it. So I think I'm going to cut right along that point and then like gradually make it curve. It's a little bit weird just because like the height, like these things are in the way, but I think that's the best way to do it, because if I lay it out flat, like it just doesn't really work. It's too wonky. So wish me luck. So now what I've done is I've laid the skirt out on the floor after pinning it while on the mannequin. And you can see how uneven the pins are. It's hard to pin it straight. But then I've taken this piece of twine and laid it down. And I find that's a really nice way to like get a smooth curve to then cut along. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed making this dress. I think it turned out really good. I'm very happy with it. I like that I used all materials that I already had, and I've already worn it for a night out on the town, and I felt super sexy, super glam, and it was a lot of fun to wear it, although I did get a lot more attention just from everyone than I am used to. But I love how it turned out. I'm really happy with it, and I'm really happy that I stretched my skill set to make something that is a little bit outside the norm for me, a little bit outside my comfort zone. So if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like. It really helps me a lot. And if you want to see more sewing videos like this one, usually I tend to do a little bit more towards historical costuming with some modern day things sprinkled in. So if you want to see more videos like that, then please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.